Welcome to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast, where we share tips, techniques, and true stories to support you in using the law of attraction and alchemy to create magic and live the life of your dreams. Here's your host, the founder of dailyalchemy.com, Michelle Martin Dobbins.
Hey, this is Michelle Martin Dobbins from dailyalchemy.com, and this is another episode of Adventures in Alchemy. Today I want to talk to you about something that usually goes against what I normally tell people to do, which is to really focus in on one core practice and then add others as you have time and it feels good, but just commit to one. But today I want to talk to you about when you're really wanting to make some massive change, that immersing yourself in that change can be a really powerful thing. I personally experienced this in not so much of a law of attraction way, but in a way it was. Recently, I went to Brazil in July. And so for 6 weeks before I went, I had decided I really wanted to speak some Portuguese. And, 6 weeks is not a lot of time to learn a new language. And I knew that I wasn't going to be fluent, and that was not what I wanted, but I wanted to be able to carry on some conversations with people in their native Brazilians in Portuguese. That was my big goal for this trip. And as I've traveled before and I've gone to places where they speak other languages, I've always had that thing like, I'm going to do this, and I didn't. And for this trip, I once again kind of let things sneak up on me. But I decided I was going to go for it. And Benny Lewis, I am not an affiliate, but I think he's really great if you like language. He has a program called Fluent in 3 months. And I thought, well, if he can get fluent in 3 months, I can get conversational in 6 weeks. And that's exactly what happened. So in a way, this was a law of attraction thing because I had wanted to speak a new language and be able to speak with people in their native tongue for a long time. And, it was things that just like every time I kind of missed the mark. But I got to this point where I went on the trip to Greece with my friend and saw her speaking Greek with just everybody that we met in Greece. And it was just, I really soaked it up, especially because she had been trying to learn Greek for a long time. She's half Greek, but she was raised in the States. So she had been back and forth to Greece because her father lived there, but it took her a while to really, and she said this was like the trip where it all kind of bloomed and she got really comfortable speaking Greek with people. So I kind of latched onto that feeling that she had of speaking it. And that was right about the time that I found Benny Lewis's program. So it was in that way to me, it was like I was finally ready to think of a new way to learn. And I'm not going to give you all the details of his program, but if you want to learn language, he has some really, really great tips. And his biggest tip is really to immerse yourself like all day long. Like morning, you're listening to podcasts, you're doing programs, apps on your phone, and then you're going to sites where you can speak with people live and you can write. And I was doing and watching videos. I was like, probably for those 6 weeks, split up through the day. There was 3 or 4 hours of my day were in Portuguese. Some was on the radio. I listened to Portuguese radio stations. Everything was that. But the lovely part of it was I tested myself before I went, and I was also working with a live teacher on a website called italki.com. And I'll put that in the show notes too, and Benny Lewis's stuff, just in case anybody's here, is language. But you don't have to do this with language. I'm actually going to bring it back around to alchemy and the law of attraction in just a moment. But my teacher was like, I'm just amazed at how fast you're learning. But, I was doing so many things other than my lesson with her. And when I tested myself and I came out as like an intermediate learner in 6 weeks, I was super pumped about that. But the coolest part was when I went on the trip and I was able to speak and carry on some nice conversations with people in Portuguese using these methods that I had learned to learn to speak Portuguese. And, by no means was I fluent, but I could communicate, and I would laugh and say, I can ask for butter like a champ. It was really, really helpful in restaurants. I was able to help us through the ordering process, and just it was really fun to have conversations with people. We went on a cruise at one point down the Amazon, and some of the people on there a lot of the people on the cruise were native Brazilians, and some of them spoke English, some of them spoke no English, some of them spoke a little, and those were the ones I had the most fun with because we would practice with each other, and I would try to tell them things in Portuguese, and they would try to tell me things in English, and it was so cool. So after kind of going through that process and knowing, like, could I do that immersion every day for day in and out for a whole year? I don't think that I could, but for me to do it for a project for 6 weeks, and I definitely plan on doing it to learn some other languages in the future, and I'll probably do it for 3 to 6 months, and maybe not as intense as I did for the 6 weeks, but it made a huge change. And I just kind of set up that schedule. So I believe that we can do that too with changing our thoughts, with focusing on something that we want to create. And it should be kind of like a game. It shouldn't be hard work, and it shouldn't be a checklist of do this practice, do this practice, do this practice. It's adding it into your life in little sneaky ways. Like when I was adding the language, I didn't sit with a book for 5 hours a day. You know, I listened to Portuguese podcasts in my car and the Portuguese radio. I would have the Portuguese videos. Sometimes I would focus on them. A lot of times I like to sit in my bathroom at night in the bathtub and watch something that I'm wanting to learn about or study. Sometimes I do meditation videos and stuff. It's kind of, I think I do that because I have 4 kids, and that's the one room that I can usually go in without somebody coming in. So I would watch Portuguese videos while I was lounging in the bath at night. So I added it in to my day. And that's what I mean by immersion. So to give you an example, if you were working on manifesting a trip to Paris, for example, you may want to spend some time visualizing that in the day, but how could you just add it into your normal day? Well, you could listen to podcasts in French. You could look at movies that take place in France. You could look those up and or show Paris in the movie, and you could kind of have a list and watch one every day or watch snippets of one every day. You could have postcards from France. You could have fake airplane tickets to France. You could have all these things so that you're seeing them and immersing yourself. And it's really nice if you can find ways to see, hear, even touch or taste, make some French food or whatever. And I've been focusing a lot on travel because I did the immersion to learn language. But you can do this for anything. Like, say you want to make a certain amount of money. Just even if you're going, I want to make $10,000 extra dollars this month. Well, you could immerse yourself by obviously imagining what that feels like to get that money, thinking of different possibilities, how it could come, but being open to all kinds of them. You could have, a picture of a bank statement with the $10,000 showing up in it. You could have, read different books, different movies where people are coming into money, cut out pictures of someone winning the lottery and holding up the $10,000 check, and just interspersing that during the day, listening to financial podcasts. You kind of have to play with it what you want, but try to find 4 or 5 ways to immerse yourself in that goal or that vision. And sometimes it's easier if it's not necessarily a finite, $10,000, but you could definitely do that for a month, or you could just look for more abundance and find ways to add more abundance to your life right now. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're immersing yourself. It's like, what would I do if I already had this? And obviously for me, not necessarily would I be taking Portuguese lessons if I already had it, but my lessons were talking to a person conversationally online. It was one of the ways that I did it. And listening to the podcast, listening to the things, and just making it part of my life. So any way that you can take what you're wanting to create and immerse yourself in that life of already having it now. step into what would I have? What would I do? Because if you had what you want, likely it would be a part of your life, especially like more abundance. It would touch you several times a day that, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I can just buy whatever I want to eat because I can afford to buy the most expensive meals, products, produce that they have here. Just giving yourself those kinds of things and building it into your day can be a really fun way to shift your vibration really quickly. Like I said, I was able to learn Portuguese to a basically intermediate level in 6 weeks and be able to talk to people in Brazil in 6 weeks. And a lot of that was the immersion and the believing that I could do it. And for me, that was the thing that I kept focusing back on, was that feeling of being able to hold those conversations. And practicing that feeling was pretty much the same thing that I felt when I was actually doing it. So think about that, but think about ways that you can just naturally bring that back into your day, immerse yourself in it as much as possible, and see how that goes. Let me know, and let me know if you have any great tips that you use to immerse yourself in a particular goal that you're working for that might work for other people too, because I would love to share how you immerse yourself and the results that you get from it. Go out and have a magical day today. Namaste and big hugs. Would you like some help creating more magic in your life? I've got a ton of freebies and goodies for you. They're all tucked away inside my magical freebie vault. You can get free access, though. You just have to go to www.dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. Again, that's dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault. And when you get there, you can just plug in your name and email and you will get instant access to all kinds of goodies. There are daily and weekly manifesting planners, the How to Shift Your Vibe in 5 Minutes e-kit that has audios and a workbook. There are moon manifesting planners and daily love lists and money trackers and all kinds of goodies right there. I didn't want to make you have to go to a bunch of different pages and sites and wait for certain freebies to come out. So I just took all of my freebies and put them in one place where you could just sign up one time and download any of them that you want at any time that you needed. So you can just head on over to dailyalchemy.com/magical-freebie-vault and download them today. Have a magical day.
Thanks for listening to the Adventures in Alchemy podcast. Connect with me on thedailyalchemy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/Michelle Dobbins, author. Join us next time for even more magical life tips.